So there's a collapse in trust around the world. Edelman PR do a trust survey for the last 20 years. Last year, it declined in every single sector that they measured. 80% of people in the United States do not trust the system. You know, when that happens, you get people like Trump. Credibility of CEOs at 37%, government officials at 29%. We've just had the UK election. All the experts said that the Conservatives would have a majority, and a significant majority. Practically nobody gave Labour a chance, and yet Labour did incredibly well. The experts everywhere don't seem to have a clue, right? Our trust in experts is gone because most of the time they seem to be wrong in the process. Why is it that the people who claim expertise are getting it wrong so much in this modern world? Customers don't trust in brands like they used to. In the US, $1.6 trillion in switching every year due to poor customer service. Why do customers not trust in brands? Because the basic scenario is it's the Casanova effect. The vast majority of brands behave like Casanova to customers. Oh, you're a potential customer. I love you. Please come to our brand and you'll have such an amazing time. You become a current customer and they treat you like shit. Right? That's the reality of most brands. The longer you stay with them, the more they charge you. Right? And you know what? They use that money for two reasons. This extra money they make off their current customers for two reasons. One, to give senior managers their bonuses. And the second one is to make more promises to potential customers. And the current customers are noticing and they're pissed off. And they're moving away from companies. Their loyalty and their trust, it's gone and it ain't coming back. Trust is gone. It's not coming back in these modern societies. 87% of B2B buyers say that content is important to them in making a purchase decision, but only 9% of them trust vendor websites, because most vendor websites are full of marketing gunk, Casanova promises, useless images, right? Not the things that people actually really want today, which is much more detail in order to make a considered decision. So the Economist Group, it asks a bunch of decision makers, what is it? What are the characteristics that you need from a brand in content? Contain timely or unique information, stuff that's actually useful, helps me make a decision. And they ask marketers, well, what do you think is the most important stuff? Or, seems like a sales pitch. Right? The marketers are constantly the sales pitching, but the customers, they don't want that. Marketing has become like antibiotics. We're becoming more and more immune to it. It's just not working. The old model is broken. Sales and marketing has had its Brexit, has had its Trump. We just haven't noticed it. But if you look at the Amazons, you look at the Googles, you look at the Slacks of this world, Slack didn't hire a sales rep until about 9 months ago. Right? The fastest software company to reach $1 billion in valuation in the world. Didn't even have a sales rep. But of course it had thousands and hundreds of thousands of sales reps. It was its current customers who were driving its sales. Ad blockers, we can't wait to get away from the ads. You're basically as likely to get hit by lightning as to click on a banner ad. Right? That's the reality. We run away. We observe customers all the time on the web. And as soon as they get stuff that they think it's like marketing, they say, I want to get out of here. I want to get to the detail. Because they don't trust marketing. They don't trust PR. They don't trust communications. Now, I'm sure there's still a lot of suckers out there. Maybe 40, 50% of the population are still suckers that can still be sold by Casanova promises. But today, more than ever, we have an educated, cynical, skeptical population that's out there. So what's happening? There's a shift in the organizations that are truly successful. The old model was about getting attention. It's like, imagine this is a street and a friend is on the other side of the street and you wave at them to get their attention and they walk across the street and now they're standing in front of you. What should you stop doing? You should stop waving and stop shouting, saying, "How's it going, John?" That's what most websites are. They're still waving and shouting at people after they have got the attention of people. Because when people are at your website, they know what they want to do. They already have a decision. So the shift is away from getting attention to giving attention. It's about saying to the customer, why did you come here and what is it that you wanted to do? And I'm going to try and help you do that thing. Rather than, hey, you're here, let me sell you something that's my target for this quarter. Right? That's not working anymore. That model is broken. So the focus is not on a customer obsession, it is a current customer obsession that the Amazons, that's what Jeff Bezos constantly talks about, the obsession with the current customer, the customer that you have, giving them a better and better experience. That is the competitive advantage today. Amazon, true customer obsession. Google, focus on the user and all else will follow. Apple, truly understand customer needs. This is not jargon. This is how these companies were built. Now, they might change as they get more mature, as they get older. They might lose that zeitgeist. But that was what built them. That's what built a true, genuine customer obsession is in Amazon. There's a shift in value away from these, magical things like the brand in the value of organizations. There's a shift in value away from these things that you advertise and promote to your current customer base. So increasingly, the value of a modern organization is in its current customer base. If you take away the reviews from Amazon, you take away a substantial quantity of its value. Right. So 40 or 50 years ago, most organizational value was in its physical assets. Then it moved to its intellectual property. And much of that intellectual assets were in the brand. But there's a shift occurring towards the actual current customer rather than the brand. And I'll explain that more in a moment. It is the current customers who are driving the sales in the environment. Social media is not a conversation between customers and brands. It is a conversation between customers and customers. If you're thinking of visiting Dublin and you've got two friends, Mary and John, and Mary has been to Dublin and John hasn't been to Dublin, who are you going to listen to? Are you going to listen to John who read the marketing about, hey, it could be great in Dublin? Or are you going to listen to Mary who's actually been there? Trust has moved to use. We want to use the thing or talk to people who have used the thing. We're not willing to listen to other people telling us about what the thing will be like if only we buy it. We want to get reality today. That's the shift that's occurring. So it's from me and my brands to me and my friends. This is an amalgamation of data from Edelman and Pew and many other environments. Back around 2000, we trusted experts more. We trusted politicians more. We trusted doctors more. But there's been a distinct shift away from the trust in the institutions to the trust in ourselves. That's what social media is. It is a revolution of customers, not a revolution of organizations. And yet, why do we trust strangers? If trust is gone, why do we trust strangers? Why do we use Uber? Why do we use Airbnb? Do you trust Uber because of Uber senior management. I mean, who would get into a car with Uber senior management? If they were the taxi drivers, I wouldn't, right? Do you trust them as brands? Why do you trust? Why do you allow strangers into your house? Because the network has moderated these people. Because people like you have said, I had a good experience. Yes, it's okay. The shift away from the sense of we don't trust Uber, we don't trust Google. Only a fool. We trust in use. As long as it's useful, we'll keep using it. And if other people in our network have approved it, and who are these people? They're current customers. So the future driver of value is in the current customer base, not in the potential customer base. And yet the vast majority of marketing is obsessed with the potential customer. We are destroying our future value because we are using old models in a new world. Look at Slack. People really like it, and so they tell other people about it. Right? That was their second biggest division in Slack is customer service. Everybody in development must spend at least an hour a week on customer service. They actually invest in customer service. They don't outsource it to some other country. You don't outsource the most important thing you have, which is your relationship with your current customers. So why does that happen? Because organizations have contempt for their current customers. They see them as things to be exploited. And the current customers have cottoned on to that, and they're moving on and switching like they've never switched before. The new world is about evidence, not opinion. What is actually happening rather than what do we think is happening? The worst way to design digital is 5 smart people in a room drinking lattes. And the longer you leave them, the worse the result will become. You want to see what's happening. What are people actually doing? And a lot in this world, it's often counterintuitive from what we think will work better. So MailChimp analyzed over 40 million marketing emails. Right? Best subject lines had a 60 to 87% open rate. The worst ones were between 1 and 14% open rate. Right? So, which were they? Which were they? Which were the hugely successful open rates? It was the marketing emails that had the worst, the ones with the get this or the last minute. It was the boring. Boring often is beautiful in this modern age. Boring often gives credibility. Boring often seems like, actually, I might get some detail here rather than being sold some illusory story. Does this always work? No, it doesn't. But it's counterintuitive, and in many environments, it does work because we are so tired. We are becoming so immune to the classical marketing messages. You got to get evidence of use. How is the environment actually being used? This was taught. It was a not very successful app, e-commerce app for iPhone. Came out about 10 years ago. Only had about 3,000 customers. But the founders, they spent so much time with those customers. They'd arrange parties. They'd go out and chat with them on a regular basis, not just once off. This is the founders of the company. And they noticed that there was one feature that was working. Most of the app wasn't really very good. But there was one feature that was working well. And it was a feature that allowed the customers to bring together a bunch of pictures or a catalog and share it with their friend. And they said, that looks interesting. Maybe we'll take that feature out and we'll develop it. And they developed it into Pinterest. And that's the same. Slack is the same story. Slack started off as a multiplayer dungeon game. And it didn't work very well, but they noticed that the tool they had created to allow their development team to work on the multiplayer game actually was pretty cool, and they developed that instead. You got to get into the world. That's the whole concept of agile design, lean, minimal viable product. It's get into the world of the customer and evolve through how the customer is using. Your current customer is not just the seller of the product, they are the developer of the product. That's what the internet allows us to do, create a network between the organization and the customer as has never been created before. Be real, not fake. There was always fake news. It's just we've become better at noticing it. We always had fake news. We were always flooded with fake news. We were always told by experts, this is what is going to happen. They never really knew what was going to happen, but they sounded so confident that we believed them. We're not as easily fooled today as we used to. This was some ads on Facebook. Professionally taken photographs, come into our salon, get your hair done, and oh, doesn't she look beautiful? She's so happy. Isn't that how everybody looks? All beautiful, smiling faces, whether you're at the gym or it doesn't matter. Everybody's having such fun when they're buying our product. That's bullshit. And we know it's bullshit, but we keep doing it, right? So they took some ordinary photographs just on an iPhone. Right? And then they measured, because that's what you got to do. You got to measure. That got 79 likes, 521 clicks. Got 1 like, no clicks. Right? I could give you 100 more of these. I could give you 100 more of these. And we know it, you know it. And yet next week you'll go and do the exact same stuff. Because that's what you were trained to do, or that's what you've been told to do, or that's the old model, and everybody else is doing it. All the other marketers are doing it. Right? You follow the customer's journey. The essence, the philosophy when Facebook is don't design the journey, discover the journey. Right? That's the philosophy in Facebook. The designers, the product designers are not the designers of the journey. It is the customers who are already on the journey. And your job is to understand what journey they are on and enhance it. Make it better. But don't try and change the customer's journey. This was many years ago, worked with Pioneer, and at the bottom of their pages, they had no call to action. So not too many people get to the bottom of the page. At the top of the page, they had the buy button, but they didn't put the button at the bottom of the page. At the end of a task is the most perfect place to engage with a customer, when they've done something, right? When they've achieved something. So when the customer has read what they needed to read, that's a far more powerful space to communicate than trying to communicate with them before they have read or before they have done what they needed to do. So we just put a simple buy shop locator at the bottom of the page. And the day we did it in Spain, there were 622 visits to the shop. The next day, there was 1,725. Just by understanding the psychology of when the person is actually ready. When the person has reached an end point and is ready to make a turn. So there's a psychology that we need to understand. This here, the Norwegian Cancer Society. This is their website back in around 2012. And of course, classical marketing. And they are self-funded. They get a little bit of money from the Norwegian government, but they need to raise lots of money. So they're saying, please give us money. Please give us money. It's all about donate, give us your coins, etc., etc. The whole page is dominated, the home page, by please give us money. So we go out and we ask people in Norway, if you were dealing with cancer, what would matter to you? What would be your most important task? And the top 3 tasks were, I want to know about treatment, I want to know about symptoms, and I want to know about prevention. Seems normal, doesn't it? You know, nobody wanted to know about giving the Norwegian Cancer Society money. Right? At the very bottom of the list, the last 79 tasks, tax deductions, legacy gifts, all the give us money tasks, customers had absolutely no interest in. Now, the Norwegian Cancer Society were a bit worried when they saw these results. But they decided to do something radical. They decided to follow what the customer wanted. And here's what they came back with. Oh, an incredibly boring website just with links. right, about the most important cancers. And when you go in, you get immediately symptoms. They deleted about 80% of their content as well. They did lots of other things to simplify. But absolutely focused on what is your need? What do you want to do? What happened? Their revenue grew much faster online than it had in previous years. Because if you solve the customer's problem, they'll solve your problem. If you don't solve their problem, they're out of here. So you got to understand what is their problem rather than what is your problem and what is your agenda in the process. We want it fast, 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 fast. Amazon now can deliver in the US within an hour. In 2000, a week was great. In 2010, 2 days were fantastic. Amazon can now do it in an hour. And all the traditional retailers were saying, what's that stupid strategy Amazon has about opening all these warehouses around the United States? They just didn't get it. That Amazon is relentless about the customer experience, relentless and obsessive about meeting your expectations and exceeding your expectations in the process. This was Telenor, a big telco in Scandinavia. They deleted 90% of their content. And most organizations I work with, they delete between 80 and 90% of their content if they're going to deliver a good experience. Because we have a fabulous capacity to create crap content. Organizations have an amazing ability to create stuff that nobody is remotely interested in. It's universal. I've been in 40 countries. I've never found a website that got smaller over time. They all get bigger and fatter and bulkier with ego-based content and new initiatives and new blah, 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 and nobody ever takes it down. Right. So most of the time, if you want to deliver value, you have to delete 80% of the crap so that people can actually find the stuff that matters. Total pages, 4,500. Conversions went up 100%. Doesn't make sense, does it? Get out of people's way when they want to buy from you. I deal with companies today. We're measuring this company at the moment where customers, they can't renew. They can't figure out how to renew their contract. Right? Who's looking after that? They want to give you money and they can't give you money. Who's looking after that? Why isn't marketing paying attention to that? Why isn't sales paying attention to that? It's amazing. Emails to customer service went down by 35%. That's their core channel. And customer satisfaction ratings went up. I know it's counterintuitive. I know it runs against so much of content marketing, etc. But so much content marketing, it's like a croissant. After about 4 hours, it's stale and it gets in the way. You know, and it builds up and it builds up and it makes it harder for people to do the most important things they've come to the website to do. This was Hong Kong, HSBC, about 10 years ago, online. This was a perfect form. It integrated with the CRM system. It was absolutely perfect. They loved it internally, but they were just getting 2 inquiries a week, which in Hong Kong is not so good. Right, about 8 million people in Hong Kong at that stage. So they got a new manager came in and decided to radically simplify it and says, let's think from a customer's point of view. Customer doesn't want to give us loads of information on this form. All they want to do, they're looking to have a discussion on a mortgage. What's the most basic information we need? Well, we need phone, email, name, email address, contact number. That's all we really need, isn't it? The internal organization absolutely hated it. They says, oh, we'll be getting stupid inquiries. You know, it doesn't integrate. There isn't enough information. You're making our lives miserable. Because that's what happens. You make life easy for the customer, it makes it harder for the organization. You make it easier for the organization, it makes it harder for the customer. Customer isn't willing to accept hard today. You don't give them easy, they're gone. Right? So, from 2 inquiries a week to 180 inquiries a week. Right? And yes, they got emails from Arnold Schwarzenegger. They got stupid emails. Yeah, they got a lot. But in the first quarter, they did 20 million in extra revenue. 20 million in extra revenue. And in the previous quarter was less than $1 million. Right? You make it simple, you make money. You make it simple for the customer. You relentlessly focus on making it faster and easier for them to do. Measure their experience. Measure their ability to do what they need to do and how quickly they can do it. Another bank in Norway, classical marketing, retirement, but people couldn't log in because they called it NetBank. The marketer said, let's give them a unique experience. Everybody calls it login. Let's call it NetBank. Yeah. Nobody could find out how to log in. They were getting constant calls. Look at this. She's not going to reach retirement. What sort of a stupid image is that? I mean, either that guy is happy because he's going to retire on his own, or something strange is going on in that image, right? So they got rid of all this classical imagery, right? And this is their page now. They did something radical. They focused on what it is you need to do, right? Oh, you'd never do that if you worked for a bank. You'd never, ever do that, would you? Right? Well, they deleted 50% of the pages, and they had a 500% increase in product inquiries. When they stopped promoting them, they got more inquiries. When they started saying, what do you want to do? You want to transfer money? You want to do this? You want to do... What they did very clever from a marketing point of view is when the person logged out, they'd have placed a singular ad in front of them, thinking about a mortgage. So they advertised at the end of the task. They didn't disrupt the flow of the journey. They says, what do you want to do? We're going to help you. You do that to customers. They want to do more business with you because you're making their lives easier. You make their lives more difficult. If they have a choice, they will leave. So, it's a current customer obsession. We've got to break that really negative obsession and cult of the potential customer. It doesn't work in the modern world. Our current customers will drive our sales, but it will be through use, right? We got to make it so good that they'll tell people about it, right? Evidence, not opinion. We make decisions on what is happening rather than what we think is happening. We need to get in, and that's the whole philosophies of minimal viable product, lean design, getting into the world of the customer and designing through use. If this is being used, we do more of it. If this is not being used, we get rid of it. Evidence, not opinion. Be real and be authentic. People have become much, much better at discerning what is fake, and they're so much more cynical and skeptical today. And follow your customer's journey rather than trying to define the journey from them. And simplicity, simplicity, simplicity. Thank you very much.
Right.